Chair would entertain a motion to, first, we're going to select the Finance Committee Chair. The Chair would entertain a motion to nominate, whoever. Well,
I nominate Kyle Larson.
I'll second that. Councilmember Salisbury made a motion to nominate Kyle Larson as Chair of the Finance Committee, seconded by me. Are there any discussion or amendments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Too bad. Motion passed. So in this case, would I let Kyle take over?
Yes.
Oh, good, there's a recipe.
You have something you can follow.
Chair would request a motion for the approval of claims.
Your Honor, I move that we pay claims to be paid in the amount of $833,651.32. The Elon credit card in the amount of $1,533.70. Manual check in the amount of $14,534.47. Payroll and liabilities for 2/9/2024 in the amount of $227,777.74, for a total of $1,077,497.23.
Second.
You have a motion, first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Is there anything in addition to the committee needs to review or discuss?
Your Honor, I have nothing.
Kyle, do you have anything other than shaking your head no?
Mr. Chairman, no, I don't have any other items to bring before you.
Would you strike the meeting's adjourned? Thank you.
You're welcome.
the February 20th, 2024 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, after which the Councilwoman Borders has agreed to give us the invocation. If you could all stand and please take off any hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet tonight. We ask your guidance as we work together in our efforts to do what's best for our community. Strengthen us as we make tough decisions that are right for our citizens. We ask that you watch over our police and first responders who protect and serve us every day. Thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 All right, thank you, everyone, for being so attentive during the prayer and the pledge. Administrative Services Director, Ms. Harris, could you please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Peranto.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox. Here. Councilman Mike Bailey. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
And Mayor Tim Hancock.
I am here. I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Bailey from tonight's meeting.
So moved. I'll
Motion-
second.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Larson,
Easy.
second by Councilwoman Borders. Any discussion or amendments? All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. I declare we have a quorum. I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Peranto with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any discussion, amendments, or additions to the agenda? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion passed. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. Why don't we start with you, Councilwoman Salisbury, if that's okay?
That's okay. I met earlier with the Finance Committee, and I haven't had any other scheduled committee meetings. But I do want to say that my heart goes out to the community of Sheridan and the sergeants that they lost last week. I think we can feel it across the state and nation. And I just want to know that we're doing the best we can for our police officers and first responders.
Thank you, Councilwoman Salisbury. I appreciate the sentiment and your report. Councilman Larson.
The only thing I have to report, Your Honor, is historically, we have spent somewhere between $75,000 and $85,000 on a monthly basis to Solid Waste District. And this month, we were down in the 48s, 45s, which means that $45,604. That means that essentially we are putting 50% less solid waste in the ground, which extends the reclamation of the land or landfill, which causes us to not spend money in the future for a direct deposit. And that's fortunate, but if we had an economy which was booming, it should be double that. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Borders.
First, I wanted to go back to Kyle if I could, and do you know what we can attribute that to?
Less
Spending
garbage?
less? Well, less garbage, but
Less.
do you have a reason?
The thinking is that when you're in a recession, you throw out less, you conserve more, you work at. When you're in a bubble and everything is going well and you're spending a lot of money, you tend to waste more. Historically, we have funded the solid waste department in Lander. Riverton has. We were putting close to $100,000 there a month, and from 2013, And the whole reason behind is they need reserves for the future planning. It cost $1,350,000 just to put the Shoshone landfill in the grave. And then you have perpetual care for 30 years on that property. That means that every month you go out and take water samples to make sure that there's no liquids or contamination of the groundwater surrounding that containment. You inspect it, you monitor it with methane coming off of it. It's just like a graveyard, only worse. And so that amount of money of $1 million, we're going to spend probably $10 million in Lander. And forcing that to be in the future is just better for all of us, because we're in the solid waste business with Fremont County. We not only pay garbage on a monthly basis to the city of Riverton, but there's 3 mills of property tax that is collected. So there's a lot of money going towards solid waste, and that's the reason for it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I attended the Finance Committee meeting earlier, and then before that, I attended a pause meeting, and they're just kind of going through their yearly planning for the community service grant application they're going to be doing, and planning their fundraisers and stuff like that. So they did, I think we have a new manager that started in January. She's doing a really good job. I think she said we had 47 intakes, and then they adopted out 42 animals, something like that. So that's pretty good. So I was pretty happy about that. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Cox.
Your Honor, I haven't attended any committee meetings since our last meeting, so I don't have anything to report on.
All right, thank you. Councilman Paranto.
Your Honor, I was just curious if there were any significant outcomes to this evening's Finance Committee meeting, that any changes in leadership or anything that weren't really discussed. But that being said, I did attend the 16th of February Airport Board meeting, and I'd like to leave the fast update to Mr. Butterfield's report. But we did receive a legislative update, kind of a lot of things happening down at the legislature this week and for the next couple of weeks. And we also received an update on the electrical system and the lighting system at the airport. I'm not sure if we talked about it at the last meeting, but we've been going through a significant number of light bulbs up at the airport, and they think that they have kind of honed in on what was causing the problem. But when you talk about each light bulb costing about $25, I don't know, Mr. Eggleston, how many bulbs are we going through in a year's time?
Thank you, Mr. Paranto. One estimate I had, that when I took over, Mr. Griffin told me that we'd spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 in light bulbs over like a 5-year period of time.
It's pretty significant. And the light bulbs, it's really important to have lighting at the airport. And this is the taxiway lighting, runway lighting. So finding the problem is actually significant. You know, we kind of talk about, oh, we found an electrical problem, but really honing in on that is a big deal and will be a huge cost savings moving forward. So I believe, and I don't know, it might be Mr. Butterfield's report as well, but they received a new loader up there, part of a loader blower assembly. The blower should arrive sometime in spring, just in time for our winter.
Swinter.
Or swinter. And I'm looking forward to going to WHAM in Cheyenne this week and seeing what's going on at the legislature in person. And with that, Your Honor, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Butterfield.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have just a few things to dovetail on Mr. Paranto's report. As far as a fast update goes, I'm happy to report that our load factors, especially on the morning flight and the evening flight, and that's basically the percentage of people that are on the plane, remain higher than 70%. Our January recorded the highest number of passengers for the month of January since 2002. And I believe that we're definitely proving that having an airport in central Wyoming is valuable, and that more importantly, there's a market for it. We have been working quite a bit with SkyWest Airlines on the the midday turn is what we would call it, but basically it would be the second flight that occurs in the day. Right now that happens on 2 days of the week. We're still working with them to see when we can return to a daily midday turn. Unfortunately, there will be some work required to have that realized, but we do hope that that occurs soon. SkyWest does recognize the value of our market and the performance that they're seeing, but they are feeling some down pressure from legacy partners as far as United, Alaska, Delta, and American to fly the contracted routes that they have for them. But they do see that Fremont County is one that needs air service and that is performing well, and we'll keep working with them to see if we can add more capacity or more flights in the near future. The Fix Our Road Citizen Committee meeting occurred last week as well. Councilman Bailey was able to attend that, and I want to give credit to the committee members for the work they're doing to steer the use of the optional 1% tax, which again is only dedicated for infrastructure projects, for roads, water, and sewer, and bridges. And I'm very excited to see the work of the committee and also Brian's team to bid projects and have things ready to go so that our community sees the value of that optional sales tax, and also, more importantly, their infrastructure that they use every single day is receiving updates and upgrades. I would like to note that typically there would be a planning commission meeting this week on Thursday, but that will be postponed until next week. So not this Thursday, but next Thursday at 5:30. And there will be 2 replats to be considered by the planning commission next week. I was also just informed that Aaron Troyer, who is our building and facilities manager, just passed his commercial building inspector test and now has that license. He's been a wonderful addition to our team, and I think it's appropriate to take a moment to commend him on passing the IBC, bringing credentials to our community, and also giving a bit of a break to Mike Miller, who has been working quite hard up to this point, and we're very proud of both of them. This last week, the Evolve, Diversify, and Grow Our Economy Committee met, the EDGE Committee, and as a reminder, that committee solely deals it deals with the half-cent optional sales tax, and that is dedicated only for economic development projects, and it serves as an advisory board to you as the council. The committee received valuable public feedback, and it also received feedback from elected officials, and decided to open its next round of funding applications beginning March 1st and then closing March 31st. And I think it'd be important to note that the committee encourages obviously new applicants, but they're encouraging people who have applied in the past to reapply and have an opportunity to come back to the council for reconsideration during this new round of funding. I also would like to communicate that the contract for services advertisement is currently available for folks and has been put out to the community. As a reminder, the contract for services is something that the city council makes available to community entities. Specifically, it makes funds available to community entities that provide necessary and important services to the Riverton community. Typically services that if they were not being provided by a third party, the city would probably have to step in and provide those services. A good example would be the animal shelter, recreation, our volunteer fire department, and some of the others that receive funding. The period for advertisement ends at the end of March, and then each of the proposals will come to you during a work session, and they will be presenting their proposals to you so that you can have that information as you get into the budget season. Legislative session kicked off with a bang last week. and 367 bills were filed. For a short session, that is the second highest amount of bills that were filed. The only one that beat it was 2020. But I would like to repeat something that Speaker Summers said, and that was, even though there were more bills filed in 2020, the House worked more bills this session, because some bills just don't come up for consideration. But it has been a busy week for our legislators, and staff has been anxiously observing the session and ensuring that the city's interests are represented, not just here, but also in Cheyenne. Of note, we're paying very close attention to the budget bill. We're also paying attention to the direct distribution bill, and we did receive some good news on that front. The governor's budget proposed $110 million to go towards direct distribution, which is funds that go towards municipalities. They're allocated by a formula or percentage, and the city of Riverton utilizes the percentage that it receives for capital improvements and operations. They're very important funds for the community, especially when it comes to capital improvements. So as I mentioned before getting sidetracked, the governor proposed $110 million. The Appropriations Committee cut that back to $105 million. However, before it was approved on third reading in the House, the amount of the bill was increased to $146 million. All good things, and we hope that as it goes over to the Senate, that amount remains. It is likely that it will be cut. We hope that it stays above at least what came out of appropriations. We're also paying attention to some bills that would impact the Wyoming retirement account and our employee obligations for that. It is proposed that the contributions from employee and employer would increase this year and next year combined at 1%. So we're paying attention to that. The desire of the legislature is to ensure that the retirement account is healthy, and they're listening to the actuaries that are advising them. But it will have an impact on our budgeting, so we just want to make sure that we know what's coming down. We also paid quite a bit of attention to the capital construction bill. Unfortunately, that bill did not pass the necessary 2/3 requirement vote for even discussion. It was not introduced. There were two specific items that related to Riverton that were in the capital construction bill. One was funds to support a state office building in the city of Riverton. As you know, from last legislative session, there were some funds dedicated. A site was selected, but this budget session had funds in the capital construction bill that would help renovate the site and the facility that has been selected. Without that being introduced, any allocation towards that facility would have to come through an amendment, likely in the budget bill or another bill. The other item that was of interest to us was $3.5 million that was proposed by Senator Salazar towards a recreation facility or a multi-sport recreation facility. With the CAPCON bill not being introduced, we will have to pay attention if our local legislators are able to be successful in amending that into another bill. But it's been busy, and we do look forward to attending WAM down in Cheyenne so that we can work with our legislators and then also network with other municipalities. And just so the general public is aware, Mayor Hancock, Councilman Larson, and Councilman Paranto are attending, as well as myself and Mr. Miller. I do want to remind the council that next week there will be our goal setting session. Gary Michaud will facilitate your goal setting, and again, that does commence at 6 o'clock next week. I think that's the last of my updates, outside of the fact that I do want to share my condolences to the Krinke family and the Sheridan Police Department. I think it goes without saying that a senseless act of violence like that was unnecessary and truly tragic. And I think it's safe to say that in the face of something like that, the whole state of Wyoming stands behind that family and also law enforcement. So I do want to offer my condolences publicly to Sheridan and also the family. And with that, Your Honor, I have nothing else.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, I will try to be brief. I had the opportunity this morning to attend a ribbon cutting. The Sage West has gotten a new mammographic instrument. They did not do a demonstration, needless to say. Anyway, and it basically will view things in 3D, which makes it a lot easier to be able to find and identify where there's issues when folks are concerned about breast cancer. So new machine that they have there through work through the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative, and it was good to be able to be there for that, and appreciate that they were willing to put in money towards that, and it will benefit our community and our local nearby communities. I had an opportunity to attend the Riverton Fire Department dinner. Probably one of the hardest working groups that we have in Riverton that don't get paid. We have a volunteer fire department. I really appreciate the work that they do. Every year they report on just how many calls they had to go out to, that sort of thing, talking about new fighters, and also discussing just kind of what had been going on throughout the year. The highlight of the evening always for me is the award that they hand out when everything just falls apart. And it's basically things that happened throughout the year where at some point somebody was lamenting that things did not go right. They use an expression for it. It's not one that I tend to use in formal meetings. Anyway.
Or informal.
Yes. But it was a good opportunity to rub shoulders with our fire department, and I appreciate the hard work they do. Golden Buffalo also was able to announce and show lab-grown diamond that they have been able to have it have a custom shape. So you're used to diamonds having a particular shape and look to them. And the one that they have at the Golden Buffalo is a lab-grown diamond that is cut to be in the shape of their Golden Buffalo. Pretty cool thing to be able to see, something that they will be offering here. As they explain it, this is only the second custom-shaped diamond that there is around. And the other one was not one for the public more so, but for, oh shoot, what's his name? It'll come to me probably at midnight tonight. But anyway, football player whose mom has one that's in the team logo. And man, anyway, moving on. We had an opportunity to speak last week about the possibility of the shooting sports complex being here in Riverton. You may be aware that the legislature has set aside quite a sum of money to go towards that. The idea is to have a world-class shooting sports facility. And we have people that have been working on a volunteer basis again to be trying to get that shooting sports complex to be here. They've been doing work towards getting the proposals aren't due yet, but the proposals, and that's honest to goodness, I think, what they call it. But wanting to get an idea of just who's actually interested, and they've been putting work towards that. I think those are due here shortly, and I really appreciate the hard work that has been put into that. Gary Michaud, when he was with the Fremont County Association of Governments, and then Tim Nichols, who also is currently with the Fremont County Association of Governments, Joel Highsmith, Sherry Oler have been putting in a lot of work towards that effort, and I appreciate it. And it would be great to be able to have that here. It would be something that would not just bring people from Wyoming, but from around the world to come here, and what a boon it would be to have that in terms of economic development. The other thing that we have going on, as Mr. Butterfield said, is next week we have WHAM. WHAM is the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. They handle, it's basically getting together with other communities throughout the state and talking about what's going on and how we can improve, and learning from each other about different ways that we can make sure that our communities are being served the best we can. So I plan to be there starting tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. Good opportunity, and I'm glad we have other folks from the city council that will be attending as well. I share Kyle's sentiments in regards to Mr. Troyer. I think that's great. That's a lot of hard work that goes into that, so Thank you for letting us know about that. I have the opportunity to be a part of the DUI task force for Fremont County. We had a meeting last Wednesday. I'm reporting on a meeting that I did not attend because I was ill, but nonetheless, they had it. But I would like to report something that came out of that, which is last month, if I'm understanding correctly, we had no DUI or alcohol-related fatalities in Fremont County. So that's in the month of February, I think, which I think is great. And I think definitely goes to show that there's a lot of people working behind the scenes to try to make sure that we have a safe community to live in. And of course, in terms of the work that goes into that, I commend our police department for their hard work and definitely appreciate their efforts to be more visible and to be enforcing our traffic laws, traffic ordinances. Lastly, so people may know this, but I have the pleasure of working with our police as the mayor in terms of being one part of the supervisory body for Mr. Butterfield, who supervises the police department, but I also have the opportunity as a prosecutor. We have a lot of really good, professional, kind police officers that serve us in the city of Riverton and in the county. And I can tell you that they go to every call, and they know that it could be a call as simple as the one for Sergeant Krinke, which was just a trespass notice. A property owner didn't want this person to be on their property anymore. So we're not talking about somebody that was investigating some violent crime. We're talking about somebody that was going to something that our police department goes to on a regular basis. And to have that reaction from the person that led to the death of one of our police officers is tragic. One of my favorite expressions is that Wyoming is a small town with a lot of long streets. And I hope that we can, as a community, as Wyoming, really show our support to law enforcement for what they have to deal with all the time. They don't deserve the treatment that they get by any stretch, but they go out there willing to deal with it every day. And so I would encourage, as you're thinking about the tragedy that occurred in Sheridan, that you turn towards our local law enforcement and you recognize the sacrifice they have to make. We had a local trooper, actually, that was shot just a couple years ago and survived it. Shot in the leg, and he had to react with deadly force to the person that shot him. And struggling to deal with that injury and struggling to deal with having to react in that way, it's tough, and it takes a lot out of you. So I would encourage you that as you're thinking about this, that you recognize what it takes to be a police officer and that we are well served in our community by our officers and our deputies and our troopers. And on that somber note, we'll move on to other things, but I appreciate our police department, and I hope you pass that along. And I understand that they intend to be there with the services and everything, and I think that's to be commended because, like I said, we're one big community, and we need to make sure that we feel that. All right, next up on the agenda, we have communication from the floor, citizens' comments. I'd encourage anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council to come up, tell us your name, and if you're associated with an organization, that you can let us know that organization that you're with. I'd ask you to keep your comments to about 5 minutes. If you're part of an organization and you want to have multiple people speak, I'd ask you to keep your comments to 10 minutes. Split it up between you and the others that are here to speak. If you want to address the council on an item that's already on the agenda, you can wait until that item comes to when it's called. Feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to give you an opportunity to speak then as well. But realize that really when it comes down to it, the more guaranteed time that you're going to catch my eye and be able to speak would be now. So feel free to speak now or speak when there's an item that comes up that you would like to talk about. So if you could, if anyone in the audience wishes to address the council, please come up and tell us your name. And if you're with an organization, tell us the organization you're with. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay, we'll move on. Administrative Services Director Harris, if you could please read the consent agenda items by title only.
Yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. Approval of the minutes, February 6th, 2024, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, February 6th, 2024, executive session. Approval of the minutes, February 20th, 2024, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations, February 20th, 2024. Replat, Wyoming Rents Addition, Lot 2.
All right, and are there any other items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met this evening at 6:45, and consideration of claims, the amount of $833,651.32. Credit card, amount of $1,533.70. Manual checks in the amount of $14,534.47. Payroll and liabilities for February 9th in the amount of $227,777.74, for a total amount of $1,077,497.23.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, Councilwoman Cox with the second. Any discussion or amendments? I would note that normally I would be turning to Councilwoman Borders for this, but as of our Finance Committee meeting tonight, Councilman Larson was strong-armed into being the new Finance Committee Director, which is just by a majority vote, and basically the two other members ganged up and said, it's your turn. So thank you for your willingness to serve in that capacity, Councilman Larson. All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Chamber of Commerce Tourism Asset Dollars Report. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do have Tiffany Cortez with us tonight, and she will be providing you an update on the Tourism Asset Dollar Program that you defer to the Chamber of Commerce to administer on your behalf. And with that, I'd turn the time to Ms. Cortez.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. So this is the 2023 Tourism Asset Development Grant Report from the Riverton Chamber. I was not here for all of this, so I'll do my best. I worked hard to put this together through forensic deep dives into emails and whatnot. So I will do my best. They approved a budget of $19,500. The actual year to date was $16,500. The City of Riverton Fremont Air Service Team was approved for $10,000. These were to promote employments at the airport. The City of Riverton Rendezvous Balloon Rally was awarded $10,000. This event was to bring pilots in and promote local spending, and it covered propane marketing, pilot incentives, etc. The chamber used $5,000 for the visitor center operating expenses. We did not budget anything for the soapbox derby that year. I put it on there anyway. We budgeted out $25,000 for the yriverton.com site maintenance and social media management, and $30,000.72 was actually spent. There was a new opportunity fund that was budgeted, but since we went over in a few other places, that went down to $5,102. This will carry over to the next year. We are working to get the bank fees resolved. There were some bank fees coming out of $60 in total, which I believe we will be paying back to that TAD funds. There was a error in the last year's awarding for the Rocky Mountain Car Club. So there was $678.59 paid out to them to correct that amount. They were awarded $4,000 and were only paid $3,321.41. Then if you turn the page, we have the other organizations that applied and were granted. The 1838 Rendezvous Association was granted $1,000. The Friends of the Fremont County Fair was granted $1,000, but they did not receive their letter with guidelines in time, and so they did not get reimbursed for the funds because they did not follow the guidelines. We are working to remedy some of these problems from the past year for people not receiving their letters in time with the guidelines, or I believe it was Christy Salisbury brought it up that some people were thought they were getting money that they didn't get. So we're sending out award and denial letters this time in a very timely manner. The Rendezvous City Beef Roundup was awarded $5,000. The Riverton Branch Library was awarded $1,000. The Riverton Museum also $1,000. Riverton Youth Soccer Association got $6,000. The Rocky Mountain Rebels Car Club was awarded 2 separate amounts, one for their summer and one for their winter show, and a total amount of $1,500. We had the Wind River Rodeo Roundup for $1,000. The first responders, they also did not receive their disbursement of $1,000, although they were awarded it. And the Wyoming Stock Growers Association as well did not receive their letter in time to follow the guidelines, and so that was not dispersed as well. And we are opening up this year's round. It's been open and it closes the end of February. So, questions?
Yes. So is the plan to still disperse to the Friend of the Fremont County Fair and the first responders and the stock growers if they get their, report to you? Or is it,
I don't think they were able to follow the guidelines such as using the logos and whatnot for the Wind River Visitors Council, and so to my understanding, we wouldn't be able to pay those out because the logos were used, and that's part of their requirements. So,
okay,
but it wouldn't disqualify from future.
gotcha.
Yes.
So there's requirements for them in terms of making sure that they are noting where one of the sponsors is the Wind River Visitors Center, that sort of thing, noting that in their materials. Okay, that makes sense.
They want to make sure that it's well represented where the funds are going, and so that's one of their requirements.
And then I was a little confused when I started with the bold and then ended with the bold, but I see now, if I'm understanding correctly, this is all of your, is this more of?
So the total down here where it has the bold total,
Right.
73,290 was dispersed by the Visitors Council, and then there was an amount left from the last year, and so the total amount came to 76,734.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're reporting on this first page more regarding where money has been going towards Riverton from the Wind River Visitors Council.
Yes.
Then in the second page is where you've broken out the TAD funds, or the TAD grants, which is what you have on the first page.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense. Any other questions?
Do you need a copy? Yes.
Councilman Larson?
No, I was just, we have a copy, several copies up here,
We
actually.
have an extra.
You need.
I'll grab them. All right, well, I appreciate the report. good to know where the money is being spent. I really appreciate you making sure that we're keeping to the rules and everything if things are going to be funded. I know that the TAD grant program is unique around the state in that basically we've got Joint Powers Board and the Wind River Visitors Council that has to decide what to do with lodging taxes. And then rather than just saying, we're going to decide what to do with that, providing it to the community is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So we're going to do a much better job this year of tracking everything and getting letters out on time. So
great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
yes, thank you.
Anything to add, Mr. Butterfield, or?
Your Honor, I would just commend Ms. Cortez and the Chamber for the work that they're doing. I think she's been a wonderful addition to the Chamber, and I see that she's working very hard to ensure that our agreement with the Chamber of Commerce is complied with, and even tonight's report is part of that. So I appreciate that and think that she's doing a great job. I also think that these dollars are so important for our community, and like what you said, they're very unique, where our Wind River Visitor Council dedicates 25% of its revenues received from the lodging tax to go specifically to communities. That's pretty cool in the sense that we as a community can highlight our uniqueness and our individuality through this TAD program. So I think it's a valuable thing. It's a unique thing. Appreciate the Wind River Visitor Council for making it available, and also for the Chamber for what they're doing to ensure that it is administered appropriately.
I agree. All right. Well, good deal. Thank you. Thank you. I echo Mr. Butterfield's remarks. I appreciate your work with the Chamber and everything, and look forward to the next report. All right. Moving on, public hearing and consideration of 2024 through 2025 liquor license renewals. Administrative Services Director's report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight for your consideration are the annual liquor license renewals submitted for the licensing term of April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. Annually, each liquor license holder must submit a renewal application to the licensing authority, which is the City of Riverton. This year, we received 31 renewal applications, including 22 retail licenses, 2 club liquor licenses, and 7 restaurant liquor licenses. 2 current licensees, Brown Sugar Incorporated and American Pizza Partners, which is the Pizza Hut here in town, have opted not to renew for this term. Therefore, their licenses will expire March 31st, 2024. The fees have generated $38,500 in revenue for the City of Riverton this year, and any sales tax revenue throughout the year. The city staff conducted a preliminary review, and all applicants are in good standing and do not show any violations. Due to short staffing at the Wyoming Liquor Division, the staff requests approval contingent upon final approval and certification from the state. The proper fees have been paid, and notice has been advertised to the public. And I would stand for any questions you would have.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion. Councilman Peranto with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I'd ask individuals wishing to address the council regarding the renewal of the liquor licenses for 2024 to 2025 to come up to the podium. Identify yourself for the record. Again, if you could leave your comments to about 5 minutes for individuals or 10 minutes for a group. If you'd like to speak, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Susan Skidmore. I represent the depot, but my conversation tonight is not about whether or not the liquor licenses should be accepted. I obviously think they should. I really would like to discuss the application process. I've been a liquor dealer longer than some of you have been alive, since the late 70s. So I'm probably pretty close to a historian. And I'm concerned because the licenses took a turn in 2022 and the application process. And so what I want to tell you is that in past years, the application and the advertising fees were due the 1st of January. The check for the license fee was deposited after the council's approval. So I was paying for next year's license about 6 weeks before it renewed. 3 years ago, we began requiring the city began requiring the licenses to be, applications to be in the city by the 15th or 16th of December, and they required us to pay for it. So we're paying for our license fee of however many, for me it's $1,500, 3.5 months before it's due and before you've approved it. I don't think that's okay. I would like to suggest that if the city council needs more time to process these things, I know they go to the city and we do all of this work, that the middle of December is not a big deal for advertising fees. But I really think that the license money should be required in some timely manner after you approve our license. That's it.
Thank you.
Less than 5.
You did well.
I know.
Thank you, Ms. Skidmore.
I guess I have something to say. Is there going to be any discussion or any action on this, or I don't want to just come and go, oh, well.
I get it. Probably what we'll do is we'll have to visit with this with staff and everything, so I don't think there's going to be any action on this tonight.
Right.
But I appreciate you coming and speaking to us about it, and we'll, I guess we'll try to keep you posted if anything changes. You know, as far as, I understand it gets frustrating when things are done earlier, but we also have been working with fewer staff, especially this year. So I don't know if that necessarily means that's how it's going to be from now on or not. So there's just a lot of moving parts to it. We'll discuss, and I guess we'll let you know if there's any changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'll get that out.
I guess just to be clear, we'll discuss offline. It won't be tonight. Anyone else that wanted to speak about liquor license renewals? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Borders, second by Councilwoman Cox. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to conditionally approve the 31 liquor license renewal applications that were submitted to the city clerk's office for the April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025 liquor licensing term, pending certification of completion by the Wyoming Liquor.
So moved.
A second.
That was a long motion that you just made. Any discussion on that?
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. When I was looking through just our codes and everything, do we do anything to oversee, like if we have problems with any of these establishments or a lot of police calls or
I will say.
any complaints?
Yes, and I will say that was part of the report, I think, from Ms. Harris, was that, oh, no, not part of your report. No, okay, good. She was shaking her head, and I think she was shaking her head as in saying there have not been those sort of complaints. We have in years past, we've had stings, basically, by the police to see if there will be folks that will sell to underage individuals. That may or may not continue this year, of course. Just trying to keep everybody on their toes with that comment.
Well, the question I had is, do they do anything to see if people restrict serving intoxicated individuals. The alcohol problem we have in our community,
Right.
that's more what I'm questioning, if we do anything to
Right.
certain establishments that seem to serve intoxicated individuals.
And I will say we had a situation where that occurred a couple of years ago. I guess, Mia, do you want to address that, or Chief? It'd be an interesting sting to say, hey, I'd like you to go get really drunk and then go up to this individual and ask if they'll sell you alcohol. I know we do wet trainings for DUIs. You know, that could be an interesting sting, Chief.
We can explore that.
Well, I'm not talking about a sting, but I think it's evident publicly that some establishments are serving very intoxicated repeat offenders. So I just didn't know how that could be addressed.
Right. Chief, have you received any complaints about any of these individuals in terms of that sort of thing?
As far as the establishments, what we normally would do is if there is a clerk that does sell to somebody they're not supposed to, then the copy report gets sent up to the state, so it'd get flagged. So that, I'm not aware of anything from this last year, but I would assume that part of the process where we're checking with the state would be if they had anything in the prior year, so.
So, at least since you've been here, you're not aware of any situations where that's been reported and investigated?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Harris, are you aware of any?
Your Honor, I'm not, and I know that the responsibility bears with the liquor license holders, and the liability rests in their hands. That's part of the reason why we have a public hearing when we renew liquor licenses each year, is because it gives the public the opportunity to step forward with any concerns that they may have regarding a specific licensee. And I have received no calls or complaints on any of our licensees at this time.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
We had several years ago some program called TIPS, where the liquor owner, the license owner, supervised training of dispensers, dealers, and they were fully aware of not selling to people that were intoxicated, and they realized that it was beneficial to them, for license holders, not to do that. And I think that was 2018, 2019 area, or it might have been a little earlier. But, and then we tried also to pass a city ordinance on frequent flyers. And frequent flyers, by that I mean people that are known habitual imbibers, and I didn't want to use the other word. And so, but we were counseled by our attorney that that probably wouldn't do too well. And so we laid off that. But right now, the police and the city administration has done an excellent job in monitoring that, and we've had fewer disgruntled neighbors on these liquor license holders. So.
Well, and it may be also that there's a need, if citizens are aware of that, to report it. And that gets a little bit difficult, of course, because I mean, what are you going to do? Sit outside of someone who is got a liquor license and wait until you see someone go in that looks a little tipsy, and then they walk out with booze in their hand? It does require, if we are going to have this prosecuted and dealt with from the police department perspective, citizen input.
Yeah.
And reporting. So I guess what I would encourage is, if there's folks that are aware of this, and it's got to be something different than just a rumor or hearsay. I mean, you'd have to have somebody that actually knows about it and has seen it and is aware of it to talk to the police department. But other than that, if we're not getting the reports, there's not much that we can do. And actually, there's exactly 0 we can do.
Well, I appreciate the discussion. When you look at our weekly police reports and you see the level of blood alcohol content, and when you're driving around, I think it's just a good reminder for all of our liquor licenses to be aware that they do have the right to not serve intoxicated individuals.
And that is something that I try to remind business owners always. As long as you are trying to tell someone that you don't want them in your establishment and it has nothing to do with the person being a protected class, in other words, due to their gender, their race, their religion, any of that, you have the right to say, I don't want this person in my place of business. As long as it's not for one of those protected reasons, you can say that. We had discussions a couple of years ago about shoplifting, and that business owners, if they're aware of someone as being a shoplifter, that they can trespass individuals from their location. So I appreciate the reminder, Councilwoman Salisbury. It's a good one. I would note that I've been having some discussions with Mia. It's funny that Councilman Larson brought up TIPS. TIPS training continues. That is available through the Fremont County Prevention Coalition on a regular basis. And one of the discussions that we've had is it possible to require TIPS training and reporting on TIPS training for anyone that serves for any of the folks that provide alcohol for individuals in our community? I think most of them do it just on their own. Not because they've been told to, but they just do it because they think it's the right thing to do and because they don't want their servers to get in trouble. But that is something that the city of Casper and the city of Cheyenne both require, TIPS training, as a part of the liquor license renewal. So after Mia and I spoke about that, we said, well, if that's something we do want to consider, it would have to be something after this renewal period and not prior to today's meeting. So that is something we have been discussing. It's something, as a matter of fact, the Fremont County DUI Task Force has discussed a little bit too, in terms of that as well. So that is, it's a good thought, and I think it bears discussion down the road, and it could be something good to have a work session on, or just further discussion in another way.
Your Honor, if I may, excuse me, Section 5.04.180 of our code actually lists, it has a complete chart of violations that are provided to liquor license holders for certain particular things. A sale to an intoxicated person is one of them. Failure to post their liquor permits, open after hours or after dispensing hours. So I would encourage anybody to go out to that section of the code to review that information as far as what liquor licensees holders can be fined for.
Yes, and I will say I appreciate that. I think we have a lot of very responsible liquor license holders that are trying to do things right. They're trying to make a living, just the same as anyone. And so I appreciate that. But I also do think that if you want to know what there might be issues with and what they're required to do, look it up in the code. So just for everyone as a reminder, 5.04. 180. And if you feel bad about all the things that you have to deal with in terms of your job with detail after detail, feel free to look at this too, because for the ones that are responsible, they have to do a lot. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. But the concern is noted, and I agree, Ms. Salisbury, and I think it's something we can keep discussing and think of different ways we can continue to make sure people are drinking responsibly. I will say, no matter what we do, we have folks that will send in a straw man, for lack of a better word, to get alcohol and then bring it back to them. So there's only so much you can do to actually address the issue. Not that I'm saying you give up, but it's a difficult one to figure out. Anyway, sorry. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the question, and I appreciate that, Ms. Harris and Councilwoman Salisbury. Any other discussion or amendments on the motion? All right. All in favor say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Fiscal year 2024 to 2025 budget calendar. Ms. Harris again.
Thank you, Your Honor. To be as transparent as possible in the budget planning process, staff has drafted a proposed calendar for the fiscal year 24-25 budget meetings. Can you believe we're already talking about this?
No.
State statute dictates some of the schedule that municipalities are required to follow. Statute 16-4-104 states that departments have to submit their budgets by May 1st to the Finance Office. We then have opportunity as staff to review those and ensure that they're responsible and reasonable. Statute 16-4-109 states that the governing body must hold a budget hearing no later than the third Tuesday in June. The staff has already published the applications for community contracts for services in the local paper, notified digital news sources, and posted on the city's website and social media page. The preliminary budget planning will run from March 11th through the 29th. The month of April will allow for the bulk of personnel, capital project planning, revenue projections, and final review before the proposed statutory work session on May 14th. The proposed final budget hearing is tentatively set for June 11th, and the staff will notify the media regarding the dates in the event of a potential quorum. I would stand for any questions you have.
Thank you. If you've got a chance to look at the budget calendar as presented, we have a motion in regards to approving the fiscal year 2025 budget calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Ferranto with the motion, Councilwoman Cox with the second. Discussion. Let's see, if I remember right, most of these dates tend to be
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Friday, Tuesday, oh no, not Friday. My bad, I looked at it wrong. Monday for April 8th, personnel planning April 9th, that's a Monday and a Tuesday. 16th, preliminary review. If you recall, we had a goal for engaging with city staff in budget meetings. So I would encourage that we keep to that and try to get to some of these meetings as much as we can. So, any other discussion? It looks like we're mainly Monday and Tuesdays.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe there's a couple of Thursdays in there also. Yes.
Yes. I see the overall budget appropriation review is a Thursday, then a Friday for the final appropriation review.
We start pinching deadlines as we get into May, just with the time that we have between the overall appropriation review and the work session. We have to prepare all of the budget narratives and the books for the work session, so it takes a little bit of time for us to put those together.
Well, and I certainly appreciate all the work that goes on behind the scenes. I know it's busy. All right. I guess what I would encourage, would you think you'd be the person to contact, or Kyle, if we're going to attend one of those meetings, just so we can get a heads up if we need to?
Your Honor, you could contact me, and similar to last year, I will send the council notes from each of the meetings. So just in the instance that you weren't able to attend, you'll also get a rundown of what happened during the meeting, so you stay abreast of the budget process. But if you do want to attend, please just let me know.
Your Honor, I just have a question on the time of the meetings. Are they all at the same time, or do they vary?
Your Honor, normally we've held them in the mornings, about 10 o'clock in the morning, just depending on the calendar and what we've got going on. There have been some that we've held later on in the afternoons. Is there specific times that work better for the council?
Well, last year you offered it over Zoom too, so that was easier to attend for some of us.
We did.
At least for the ones that we could. And I think, was last year, did we have it set that 11 o'clock or something unless otherwise noted, or 10 o'clock? I'm trying to remember how it was.
Your Honor, if I remember, it was at 2 o'clock, but we can set those times as they come forward. We'll make sure that you have a Zoom link for each of those, and then we'll just kind of work through it.
Okay. Anything else on those? That was a good question. Thank you. All right. All in favor of approving the 2025 budget calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Bid award 2024 Slurry Seal Project. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. Before you tonight is a bid award request for our 2024 construction season. This is another slurry seal project. Last year we did approximately 70,000 square yards of streets. This year we're proposing 116,000 cubic yards of roadway. We went out to bid on this project at the request of the FORCE Committee, or the Fix Our Road Citizens Committee. They prioritized asphalt preservation again this year. This project went out to bid on January 27th, and we had a public bid opening on February 15th, 2024. The low bidder on the project was American Pavement Preservation LLC in the amount of $281,432.17. They were the low bidder, and they were responsive. Our request would be to award that bid to them.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion to award the bid for the 2024 pavement slurry seal project in the amount of $281,432.17 to American Pavement Preservation LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Paranto with the motion, Councilwoman Cox with the second. Discussion. Somebody we've not used before at all, correct?
That's correct. At least not in recent history, not that I've been able to find.
Looks like they're out of Vegas.
They're headquartered in, I believe it's Las Vegas. They've got an office in Idaho, and they must have a footprint in Wyoming because they are a certified resident in the state of Wyoming, so.
Okay. All right. Well, always good. Meet new people. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, RAISE grant application. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. Once again, we're going to make our third attempt to get a RAISE grant to rebuild Airport Road. The last two times were unsuccessful. However, in their merit criteria, we seem to be getting a little better each time. So hopefully this will be the year. But this project, we went out, Mr. Tolman and one of our local contractors helped put these numbers together. So we're actually using relatively good figures in our current market. We anticipate that reconstruction of that project would be $6,894,470. That's just the road construction part itself. In addition to that, we need to replace some water line. It's 8-inch water line up there now. We want to upsize that to 12-inch. Estimated cost of that is $396,000. It's 1,800 linear feet. As with last year, there, being a rural community, we're not obligated to provide a match. However, I believe, and other staff members believe, that showing that we've got a little skin in the game doesn't hurt our application or our chances for approval. So at that point, we'd be requesting a 20% match from our FORCE money, our Fix Our Road Citizens Committee money, our 1% funding, in the amount of $1,640,689 to help match that grant. The total project, including the water line and adding 2% for tribal employment rights office requirements, brings that total up to $8,203,445. That's how much we would be, how much the total project would be. And what I'm requesting tonight is just council action, either a yea or a nay or minute action to proceed with the application or not proceed with the application.
All right. Well, I'd entertain a motion to authorize Public Works Director Ryan Eggleston to submit a grant application to the Department of Transportation's RAISE program to improve Airport Road.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Cox with the second. Discussion.
Your Honor, I just have a question on the force funding. So have we reached out to them? Do they have the budget for that?
They would have, thank you for the question, Ms. Borders. Your Honor, this project, if awarded, would be out a year. We have to finalize planning, and it would be next year's budget we'd probably look at for funding it. Obviously, it's incumbent upon the 1% tax to continue, but if we don't have the funding, we just turn the money back. But right now, we do have the money.
Okay, thank you.
We will.
Any other discussion?
It's amazing how much it costs to build a road.
I agree. I guess tell me more. We had talked a little bit about plans previously, widening the road, having some improved lighting, walking path. Is that still part of what's in the plan?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. The widest portion of the road right now is about 24 feet. We want to increase that width to 38 feet and also include some turning lanes up above on some of the blind approaches to those intersections up on the top. We'll also be rebuilding the intersection at Cooper Road and the highway and bringing it in at 90 degrees with Stagner and just improving that whole intersection at the bottom. But it also includes a 8-foot walking pathway or a multimodal pathway with lighting and road lighting as well.
You said it's 24 feet. It doesn't feel like it when I'm driving it.
What if you're walking on it while you're driving on it? Although that'd be hard to do.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Thank you for the answer to that.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
On the Terrell, how much are we crossing the land there? All the way, some of the way, 3/4 of the way?
I'd say a quarter of the way, rough guesstimate.
So we're rebuilding their road?
Yes, we are.
And then
And it will actually be our
we're
road.
paying to do it?
That's,
Only in America.
Your Honor, is that section the intersection that we're talking about?
a portion of it is, and then going up the hill, there's, I can't remember exactly how many feet of tribal land there is. We're working with the Bureau of Indian Affairs right now to get an easement for that. We've got easements for our water and sewer up there as well, but we want the entire roadway. And the tribes are more than willing to do that. It's just navigating through BIA's requirements these days.
Thank you.
So in other words, it will be ours is the plan.
Yeah.
For good or ill, I mean, we're going to have to take care of it.
We currently maintain it as we speak, so.
Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye, sorry. Motion passes. Resolution number 1493, United States Department of Agriculture Rural Business Development Grant. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution does support the application of this grant. As discussed in the previous business meeting of the City Council, there is a community effort to explore the viability of a multi-sport recreation facility in Riverton, specifically one that would support indoor soccer and hockey. While it's too early to have construction estimates on a facility like this, initial exploration leads stakeholders to believe that this facility could cost in excess of $7 to $10 million. City staff is also working with other recreation organizations in the state to establish an estimated annual operating cost for such a facility, and that could range anywhere from $400,000 to $900,000 annually. In order to move forward with the fundraising, the planning, and the budgeting for such a facility, it is valuable to hire a consultant to perform a feasibility study and perform or establish a business plan for its future construction and annual operation. The United States Department of Agriculture offers a number of programs to support rural communities. That's through the Rural Development Program. In fact, they have over 70 programs that fund rural communities like ourselves. One that we're currently looking at is the Rural Business Development Grant. This program is a competitive grant designed to support targeted technical assistance, training, and other activities that lead to development and expansion of small businesses, emerging private businesses, or economic development in rural areas. More specifically, the Rural Business Development Grant Program, or RBDG, is broken into two categories. The first is an enterprise type category, and these grants are meant to support projects that benefit small and emerging businesses in rural areas. The second is an opportunity type grant, and that's meant to support more community-wide projects that center on economic development. The opportunity type grant is limited to 10% of the total allocation for the RBDG program. For what we're looking to complete, that aforementioned feasibility study and business plan, it would fall within the opportunity type program of the RBDG program. Staff has been in contact with USDA, specifically with rural development, about this grant opportunity and was informed that we do qualify. It also mentioned that the typical allocation for opportunity type grants under this program is approximately $10,000. There is no matching requirement from entities that apply. However, if funds are not sufficient to complete the project, the applying entity would have to cover the overage. The resolution before you supports the application to RBDG to hire a consultant to perform a feasibility assessment and also a business plan for this multi-sport facility. It also addresses that any overages in hiring this consultant would be covered by the City of Riverton. And the last point of information is that this grant is due a week from tomorrow. And a lot of credit goes to Ms. Mia Harris for her work on this, and also some community stakeholders that are already working hard to receive letters of support and also important narratives when it comes to submitting the grant application. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would the Administrative Services Director please read Resolution 1493 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed resolution number 1493, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Riverton authorizing the submission of a United States Department of Agriculture Rural Business Development Grant to the United States Department of Agriculture, supporting a feasibility study and development of a business plan for a multi-sport recreation facility.
Chair would entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 1493, authorizing the submission of a USDA Rural Business Development Grant.
So moved.
Second.
We'll say that that was Councilman Larson, and that the second was Councilwoman Borders. No, it was you?
I'm pretty sure it was me.
Oh. I was hearing out of two ears, and
Let's have an
it might be
answer
that my
today.
left ear is just a little bit faster than my right. I don't know. Sorry, Councilwoman Cox. If you had just left it at a motion from both of you, I would have just called one of you the second anyway. All right, discussion. Besides Councilwoman Cox lodging her complaint about being not noted as the movement.
Movement.
Any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
on a development like this, I really think that we need a business, somebody that can go in there and take the time to do a good job, whether it costs us $10,000 or $15,000. The amount, we just need a real good, what it's going to cost us to operate it. We'll probably get the money for the development, but that's not the problem. The problem is maintaining it.
Right.
I mean, this is like another airport. But it has its positives, I realize that. But we need to go into it with our eyes wide open.
I agree.
And that's the only way you can do that.
Well, and we've been talking about this for some time now, and it was a little bit of a blow, of course, that the capital construction bill was not approved for consideration by the rest of the state legislature. But it's good to know that we're still moving. And I think that's definitely the feeling here is if we're going to get funding from the state, great. We can try again next year, but we'll get it figured out and get things more solidified and go back, and we'll keep going at it. And I think that's the spirit here, and I really appreciate the people that have been putting a lot of work into it. I know that Julie Buller is here, and she's been putting into a lot of work into it. Ryan Hamilton, Josh Saltzgaber. There's been just a large group of people that are interested and invested in this, and I think this is a good start. This is a way that we can get things rolling and get more solid ideas. Come on up, Ms. Buller. You do. There's people watching. They want to see you.
When you talk about the support, I mean, Josh Saltzgaver has been working on this forever, and Ryan Hamilton and Kyle has stepped in and been so gracious at helping us get this, hopefully, moving forward with this. We have been working on letters of support. We have well over 21. We met with the county commissioners this morning. They are full on board with the project. We said, great, next we'll go to them if they're listening. We'll go to them next for money. But it's not dead at the state level yet. It's, Tim Salazar called this morning and said that there's other avenues of trying to get that in there, so they're working on that. And then Patrick Edwards was at our little committee meeting that we had, and he strongly encouraged that if this $3.5 million doesn't go through, then we'll go on to Plan B, which is through the Business Council and the SLIB. So I don't think you see this group letting go of this initiative. We're going to work as hard as we can to make this, and there's more and more people out there in the community. Like I said, 21 letters of support came from the school districts, 25, the rec board, our economic development, Idea Inc., I can't remember who else in here, Winter Visitors Council, but we've got total support from everybody in the county that we can see. And there wasn't any question at the county commissioners. That's kind of the battle sometimes. Well, it's going to be in Riverton, but everybody there said that this is a long time coming, and they support it fully, not just the letter that we had proposed to them this morning. So thank the city staff, Kyle and Mia. I mean, like he said, we just found out about this and had to put their nose to the grindstone and get this thing figured out. And Kyle did all the research that he had to with USDA, and Mia's getting the grant put together, and we've got the letters of support and some narrative for her. So we got the college on board working with us too. Beth up there with the foundation. You talk about a sustainability plan. That's been talked about in great detail. And yeah, once we have a plan, Kyle keeps saying, what are your costs? Well, we got to have the plan, then we'll go forward with the cost. And I think everybody's just jumping up and down to try to make this thing move forward. So we thank everybody for their support.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will note that when I came on as mayor, I had a conversation with each of our council members and kind of said, what are your goals? What are things you want to do? And one of the first things that Mr. Bailey said to me was, I think it's about time we got a rec board. Man, rec center. I was looking at you, Mr. Pronto, and it just, Rec board came to mind. Rec center in Riverton, and he's been putting a lot of work into to trying to get things figured out from his end, and his, I just really think it's time. And I think we've got all hands on deck, and I think that's the way to go, and we'll just keep pushing and leave no stone unturned, and I think this is a good start, so. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Your aye vote is noted, Councilwoman Cox. All right, we don't have an executive session tonight? Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn our regular council meeting in an hour much earlier than 11 o'clock.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilman Pronto with the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. We are adjourned at 8:26. Motion passed.